Here we are in the closing hours of our 2021 online art auction. It's all about art. I hope you had time to come into the AGP to check out the amazing artworks offered by over 50 artists. It's been a blast to see these wonderful artworks come in, and we here at the AGP are so appreciative of the talent of the artists in our region and their immense generosity. In addition to artworks, we have some very creative experience on offer. Curate an exhibition from the AGP collection with our curator, Finn Leach, or take part in the glass workshop with Christy Haldane. Lots of interesting possibilities. I want to thank the lineup of sponsors who are supporting our fundraiser this season. Thanks goes to presenting sponsor George Ripoll of BMO Private Wealth, event sponsors LLF Lawyers, hosting sponsors Electric City Real Estate, Liz Hunt & Company, Ashburnham Realty, and Slayer AI. Auction sponsors Generation Solar, Century Health, and Kim Wood of TD Wealth Management. A very special thank you goes to the folks at We Design, who have been in-kind supporters of our annual fundraiser It's All About Art for many years now. There are some great finds here, so good luck with your bids as we close the auction down at 9 p.m. tonight.
Hi everyone, I'm here with Stan Altice. He's got this beautiful piece. Stan, welcome. You're a new participant in the All About Art. So can you tell us about this very engaging piece?
First of all, I'd like to say, I'm very happy to be a part of this this project and the auction. This piece is first of all, size-wise, it's 30 by 22, and it's acrylic on a wood panel. And the frame is something I found on the street and refurbished. I use a lot of found objects in my work, and this one was right for this project. The piece is called Portrait, and it's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek approach to two energies meeting, and the shape and the frame are reminiscent of what a portrait, perhaps of, a photographic portrait of a couple might be put in on a wall in a 50s home or something like that. Part of an overall series, and it's a good example of this series that I call Proximity. And Proximity is a series that I started working on during my years living in Mexico recently. There's two main inspirations. I'd been working up until that point with much less colorful palette. Just living where I was, it was like every day it's just bombarded by every amount of color.
Very colorful place.
And
right?
yeah, terribly colorful and mishmash of colors. You go like, who would ever think of that, right? I was like, who would ever think of putting those colors together? So the way I work often is I surprise myself by the colors I choose, because I go like, well, that's probably not gonna, and I put it down, and I go like, no, it's a really amazing thing. So it indicates as well how two energies work together. I think that two people, for example, would have fully complete facet of their own character and personality and so on. But meeting somebody else, it creates something new and vibrant and a new energy completely. And that's sort of the underlying deeper part of the work is that I was very interested during that whole time in learning about sacred geometry and sacred geometric energies, patterns that many cultures. I mean, if you investigate ancient cultures, there's symbols through almost every culture that includes these basic building blocks of reality, both seen and unseen.
And Mexico has its fair share of ancient, cultures and structures and so on. So yeah. Okay.
So this specific shape is something you would find in many geometric patterns, sacred geometric patterns, and it's called the vesica piscis, which is the result of two circles or two spheres intersecting along with, and that's where all the other building blocks come from, is the square, the equilateral triangle, the spiral, and the circle. And so that's the main power of physical and non-physical energies.
Hi everyone, I'm back. I'm with Lucy Manley. Lucy has been, a long supporter of the gallery. Going on 20 years now. You've been submitting pieces. So, Lucy, this is a beautifully, it's a large piece. So we've got a couple of your smaller pieces at home, but this is stunning. So,
this is Sunset Over the Fields. Not too original, but it's basically because I'm a plein air painter, so I usually title my paintings. I don't find poetic titles. I just say it as it is, you know. And this is actually on our property. We're situated on the back part of a farm lot. So we have a huge like fields and forested areas and a pond. So I don't have to go too far. And this is just up high and facing that west, the sunset going down. And it was in the winter. I think a winter landscape can always be warm. You don't have to, and I mean.
Except when you're painting plein air.
Yeah, well, if you're outside, you could. If there isn't any wind, the wind is the bad thing. But if you could be outside on a day in the winter, as long as you're dressed proper and good boots on, you can do it. It makes you paint faster.
Yeah.
You get to the essence of it. No dilly-dallying.
Yeah, it does have. It's got some beautiful brushstrokes in there.
Yeah.
I'm loving the trees and and the sun as well.
The trees, and then once it goes down, everything is just black and boring. But when that sun is, everything's just radiating, and it's the sun dapples that I was intrigued with,
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. And this is oil acrylic?
This is oil, and it's 36 by 24 on canvas, and it's I've been exclusively painting the last 5 years on a black toned canvas.
Okay.
The backing is it's black gesso, and it makes me go with more opaque paints and brighter colors, because it's black, so you have to go, you can't go. So I'm not doing washes, I'm actually painting directly, doing direct painting.
Some real sort of texture in the paintwork
there.
there.
And then maybe just little bits of slivers of black, so it gives sort of like a stained glass effect, And I really like the effect I'm getting. It's same method as when I painted on a white canvas, but it's a little more dramatic. Sometimes I will do a series, like say if I did this sunset, I may just want to do a number of other sunsets, because I'm in the mood of it,
Right.
And this summer I did quite a few of Cashobog Lake, like north of Havelock, just different views of it. It's the same, sort of the same composition, but it's just different close-ups or distances apart, the Canadian Shield.
Yep.
And I just felt, I did one and I said, I like to just do a bunch of them. And you just get it out of your system, And now I'm done. I'm done with Cashobog Lake. But that's what happens with the series. So, and then you go on to something else and then you're on another roll.
Okay, that's great. So I'm with George Rapole from BMO Private Wealth. George is back as our presenting sponsor, so thank you, George, for coming back. George has got some great strategies and messaging about art. So George, tell me about sort of the asset management of art, please.
Yeah, well, I mean, great question. In terms of why I was a presenting sponsor, I really wanted to give back to the community. One of the biggest things in Peterborough, from being born and raised here, is art, and especially the art gallery in general, how beautiful this property is, let alone the works of art inside of it. As we're seeing firsthand, that's the really biggest reason, is I want to give back to the community, and I think this is a huge, huge component of it. The other thing too, I guess, as well, is what you had stated. Art is great, and it's very visual, and it lasts forever in terms of intrinsic value to yourself. But it is great in terms of being a part of a well-diversified portfolio. because it's an alternative asset. It's similar to, you know, the property that we're coming through right now, the art gallery. You know, everything, including, you know, real estate to art, it's very unique to the beholder.
George, you raise a good point about succession planning with an art portfolio. So talk to me about that some more.
Yeah, as broad scope of more or less what we do, we look at don't just look at investments, we look at everything beyond that. It's tax planning, estate planning, all that kind of stuff. Succession planning is a huge piece when it comes to art. A lot of people have many works of art, like I said, within their, you know, diverse portfolio within their house. And these are all things that should be included and all things that should be looked at when, you know, reviewing a succession plan for your children. So it is a key component of what we look at. And again, you know, it's not just your traditional stock bond portfolio. It's kind of taking a look at everything, whether it is art, real estate, whatever it may be. It's important to know the implications. It's important to make sure that, you know, people can continue to enjoy these beautiful works of art, as we've discussed all the way through here.
And George, how do we find you?
Well, great question. They can get a hold of me at my website, georgerapole.ca, or they can feel free to pick up the phone the old-fashioned way and call 705-740-2273.
Hello everyone, I'm here today with Spencer Harrison. Spencer, you've got this beautiful piece going into the auction.
The piece is called Be Still My Heart. I've been painting these vessels for quite some time, probably 30 years now. And I think of them as metaphors for moments in my life. They're like humans. They have spines and ribs, and they're containers for emotions, and when they sit in the water, they displace, they leave a shadow, they leave a memory. They're just like us, navigating the world.
They take a journey.
They certainly do. And when this piece came about, I was on a beach in Iceland. Don't imagine that that's a sandy beach with beautiful palm trees, but in fact it has lava. And my husband and I were looking for stones that have holes in them, because it's all lava. The old idea is that if you look through the hole of a stone, you will see a fairy, and it was kind of a joke that we would see each other through the stone. And we were collecting them to think about making some jewelry for friends of ours. And I turned and looked at the ocean, and I just thought, be still my heart. It was so beautiful and calm. The color is not like Canadian color. And I thought, I wonder what this color translates through in my head if I'm going to paint this moment. And then my husband held up a piece that he had found that was a heart shape, and he said, you know who this is for? Because we have a friend who collects stones that are hearts. And all I could think of is, be still my heart.
Wonderful, what a beautiful story. This is oil?
It's acrylic on canvas.
Okay.
The way that I paint, it's glazes and glazes and glazes of color. There are, in this piece, about 90 glazes or very transparent skins of color. That's what creates the depth in the space. It's pure science, really. You're looking through things, and because your eye is looking through, it creates the space. And then the vessel is rendered relatively late in the image. And then what's around it is then adjusted with more glazes to settle the vessel into the work. It is acrylic and it is on canvas, and it's very odd for me. I've been painting acrylic on paper for almost 40 years now, and I'm just going back to canvas now. The first one on canvas came to this sale last year. This is the second one on canvas.
And your pieces are always, hotly fought over when we're back in the live galleries. There's always bidding wars that go on. So, we're very grateful for you bringing these pieces and sort of continuing to support the art galleries.
The art gallery is an amazing place. I had my first solo show here. I taught here before I was even through my undergrad degree. I'll always support this place. It's amazing.
I'm here now with Shannon Taylor. Shannon's been a sort of long-standing supporter of the All About Art auction. Shannon, beautiful piece. Tell us, what is it called? And tell us more about this piece. It's very engaging. So.
Oh, thanks. This is called Snowscape. It's a winter scene, as you can tell. And it's just part of a series based on basically the winter landscape. And it's a series of composite images. So I would go out walking and I would come back and I'd do a series of drawings or paintings, sometimes based on photographs, sometimes more free form, kind of remembering, and try to recreate or create a picture that is reminiscent of that.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a nostalgic quality to your work. It's got that I've seen this in a memory before or something like that. So can you talk to us about, is that intentional or is that?
Well, it's something that just has come through. It surprises me that I hear that quite a lot. People say, oh, it's like a postcard. It reminds me of this place I know. And it reminds people of this place they know, and it's a different place every time. So it's interesting because, of course, that's where it's coming from. Is for me, it's just kind of trying to express the feeling of a place or experience of a place. And yeah, it seems to come across as nostalgic somehow, which is interesting.
Tell me, Shannon, how do you make these pieces up? They're quite inspiring. There's a very heavy contrast in the pieces. So how do you achieve that? What happens?
So this mixed media umbrella term just refers to the fact that this is it's on paper, mounted on board, and the images are from a series of smaller drawings and paintings that I did. So what I do is I do like a whole series of smaller pieces, smaller little drawings, and then I'll go through them, sort of set them all out, and I'll pick out little pieces and little details. And for instance, the grasses, they're sort of abstracted shapes and forms. So it's actually, it looks like a winter scene, and it is a composite image of different winter images that I have created. So it's not really one specific place, but it's reminiscent of a whole bunch of them.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm here with Jenny Kastner. Jenny's got this beautiful piece. Jenny, welcome back.
Thank you.
Can you tell us some more about the piece?
Sure, yeah, thanks, Matt. This is a piece entitled Thunder Moon. It's a 12 by 12 acrylic piece on canvas. And it is actually a moonrise over Big Island at the north end of Clear Lake. So that is where Stony Lake and Clear Lake meet. And a very interesting sort of geological, biological meeting point between the St. Lawrence lowlands and the Canadian Shield. So you've got that kind of granite rock really dramatically meeting the lowlands here. And I find this landscape very inspiring to me. You've got that boreal forest meeting that lowlands mixed forest. You've got a lot of species from the north meeting the species of the south. And then the sort of magical term behind it, which is the land between, which I love.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm seeing this beautiful. You've got sort of a red underpainting going on in there. That's sort of, you do that on oil work or? I
do, yeah. So for those who are interested in color theory, a lot of my works are green or have a lot of green in them, a lot of cool colors, and green and red being opposing colors on the color wheel and complementary kind of show each other in their most intense state. So if you leave sort of these peekaboos of that ground color around some of those green elements, you can get this really neat vibration that happens. And I also love the way it warms up a cooler palette. So it's kind of a part of my style.
So this is, to capture a style, this is, I look at this and immediately identify it's Jenny Kastner. So can you tell me about your style a bit more, Jenny?
Yeah, sure. So it is kind of known to be very graphic, gestural in nature, a lot of line, a lot of movement, a lot of big mood and then sort of compositionally a huge pull into the piece. So the idea is that most of my compositions, you're either moving through or you're going into them. And that sort of invitation into the piece allows you to come in and relate to it with your own history, your own nostalgia. And everybody kind of comes into a piece and has their own sort of human subconscious relationship or experience with it, which is what I love so much about art. So whether it's, this is really nostalgic, it reminds me of something that I've seen before. This makes me feel like I'm in a dream, or I've had some sort of psychedelic experience that is similar to this.
I was going to use that. They're very dream inspired, I feel. So yeah, wonderful. What a wonderful explanation. Yeah, great.
Good evening, I'm Joe Grant. It's my extreme pleasure to bring greetings on behalf of LLF Lawyers. As fellow art lovers, we know how the right work of art can transform a room, while at the same time it can transport us out of that room to a different time and place, fill us with wonder and awe, and inspire us every time we experience it. And I know there's so many great pieces here today that fill that bill that are going to create that experience for the lucky bidder who wins out tonight. So bid high and bid often, because this time it's all about the art.
Hello again, everyone. I'm here with Miguel Hernandez. Miguel, you've got this beautiful piece, and it's absolutely perfect for this time of year, and fall is my sort of favorite time of year in Canada, because the colors just are stunning, and that's sort of what blew me away when I first came to Canada. Miguel, where are you from first?
Hi, I'm from Venezuela.
Okay.
I came to Canada in 2014.
Wow, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So you've got used to Canadian winters, obviously.
I love it. I love the Canadian winter. Like, I'm from Venezuela where it's always hot.
Yeah.
So I hate the heat, and I love the cold.
Okay.
So I'm good for them.
Well, I'm from England originally, where it rains a lot, and I hate the rain. So yeah. So
you
you can at least do something in the snow. You can't do anything in the rain. But
Exactly.
yes. So we've got this beautiful sort of dreamy, sort of leafy composition. Miguel, tell me what's it titled, and you obviously draw your inspiration from the same sort of place that inspired me to come to Canada. It's this is very synonymous with Canadian fall, but tell me.
I hope it is. Like, the title is From Within, and I was in a kind of a dark place of my life at the time, and I was walking to work at 5 in the morning, and there is this like super beautiful bright yellow, because there is a spotlight behind the tree, and it's like, is that another message that after all these obstacles, the light is there, and I'm gonna get to where I want to be? Mm-hmm. So I took the photograph and I stuck with it for like a couple of months, and then I keep going back to it. Like, I have to paint you, and I actually did. And I think that's the main message of it. It's the power of seeing through what you're living at the moment and focusing on your main goal, like to get to that objective, pretty much.
And it's beautiful that you're able to express those emotions through your art. It's
That's pretty much what happens with my art anyway. Like, every piece is so different, but every piece is so connected to me for something that made me like who I am today. So every piece represents an important part of my life.
Okay. And this is oil or acrylic? Or
it's oils. I only do oil paintings. And yeah, I wanted to play with the transparency of the light and the yellows. Mm-hmm. And I love it. It's so whimsical in a way, like captivating for me.
Your paintings generally all sort of, tree and sort of landscape scenes?
I'm not a landscaper per se. I have been told a couple of times that I should paint landscapes because that's what sells.
Wow.
And then
around here,
my answer is like, well, maybe I should push myself for what I do. I think there is so much beyond just landscapes, and this would be kind of my interpretation to a landscape. Like, I don't know how to see the broader picture. I know how to see the detail on something, and I think I personally love that about my work, that is so simplistic in a way. And yeah, like I grab inspiration from anything, like, or everything. You don't know what's gonna trigger me. Nobody knows what's gonna trigger me, and then something does, and I go and paint it. Like I have painted candles or kettles boiling, or like it goes from 0 to 100 in no time. But the idea is always to express a feeling that it's bothering, like it's bugging me. Okay. You know, like something gets in me, and then I have to express it. And this is my way to do it.
What a beautiful way to work.
I think it is. And you know, like everybody goes to therapy. I go to therapy too, but this is my other therapy. I think this is more effective.
Art is, if anything that the pandemic has thrown up is, you know, art is very therapeutic, and whatever form that we've taken, we've all sort of, I think, relied on that to get us through these sort of tough times.
Absolutely. Before COVID, I struggled a lot with what I'm supposed to do. What am I supposed to be doing? And COVID hit, and I lost all my sources of income. And it took me like 6 months to finally say, this is what I'm supposed to do. So I have been painting for all my life, right, since I was a child, but I just took it seriously as my own, like as my only source of income since like last year. So this is my first time in the auction, and I'm really excited about it.
Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm with Brad Copping today. We have had the pleasure of doing an online publication with Brad for his solo exhibit that he had a few years ago here at the AGP. Brad has got these stunning glass sculptural pieces. Brad, tell me first, I mean, what are they called? What is the piece called? I want to also talk about, you know, how you do this, because they're so elegant and just beautiful lines to them. So please, you know, what are they? What are they titled?
Thanks, Matt. The title of the piece is Cadence. It's made from blown glass. Okay, so they are actually blown forms. And what I do during that hot process, I'm blowing a long cylinder, and then I flatten it. And then sculpt that flattened piece of glass into this form. And the fluidity of hot glass allows this kind of movement to happen quite readily. So it's using the heat of the furnace to manipulate the glass and create these gentle curving forms, or not so gentle. The texture on the exterior is all been carved in afterwards. So I'm blowing them, flattening them. That gives me a certain thickness to the glass, and then once they've been annealed and brought to room temperature, I go in and I carve the surfaces back. So I'm carving all that patterning into the glass, then smoothing it with sand etching, and then these pieces have all been acid etched as well. So it's a long process, and then trying to make the arrangement work in terms of the various forms to get that sense of movement.
I see a new sort of curve and a new form. They're almost like they're flowing, even though they're sort of static pieces.
Yeah, and that's very much what I was hoping to achieve, is that sense of movement, of flow, of cadence, that rhythmic movement that you get on the water in a canoe.
So obviously you work with glass. We've seen the beautiful sort of canoe piece with the mirror sculpture on the outside and on the inside, for that matter. How do these play off of that? Are they part of the same sort of body of work? How do you?
They were made around the same time. I mean, the scale obviously is completely different, but I've always worked from a small scale to a large scale. So these pieces were made at the same time that I was working on the mirrored canoe, but I was trying to do something, you know, within the context of my studio practice in the hot shop. So this still canoe related, it's still in your head. That sense of journey, I think there's a lot of that through that exhibition and through much of my work. The idea of your life's journey. It's not about how you get there. It's not about the car or the boat. It's about the journey itself. So taking the canoe form and trying to give it a sense of the water, of the movement, of the journey, so that it sort of disappears. And I think that was the same thing with the mirrored canoe. That was some of the initial ideas, was that you make the vessel disappear, and it's about, then it becomes more about that experience as opposed to the thing itself.
As this wonderful auction draws to an end, I want to thank everyone for their generous bidding and thank the sponsors for continuing to support the arts community. I think if we have any silver lining in this pandemic cloud, it would be that we've been able to offer over 60 items and include so many more of the wonderfully talented artists that are in our community. During the pandemic, we've turned to whatever art form we enjoy whilst we've had to stay safe in the comfort of our homes, listening to our favourite music, binge watching TV, or enjoying the visual art we have hanging on our walls. I would love to remind everyone about this enjoyment and reliance on the art community when bidding, as without this art, as a community and a civilization, we would have been truly lost. So please be generous and bid over the fair market value price, knowing that any winning bid over that fair market price not only benefits the artists and the Art Gallery of Peterborough, but the bidder also will receive a tax receipt for the amount bid over that value. I'm Matt Stimpson from We Design. It has been my pleasure to host this online auction and chat with some of the featured artists. We hope to see everyone in person next year, but until then, get bidding online. Thank you.